All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something super important, a way to manage bipolar disorder that's about more than just medication. It's really about giving you the tools, the actual skills to be in the driver's seat of your own health.
So, let's start with a question that, honestly, gets right to the very core of what it's like to live with bipolar disorder. You're constantly asking yourself, is this me, my personality, or is this the illness talking? And that blur, that uncertainty, well, that's a massive part of the struggle, isn't it?
Okay, so before we can even talk about the solution, we've got to understand the problem, right? And the thing about bipolar disorder is it's not just random mood swings. It's actually a cycle, a really vicious, self-perpetuating cycle that can feel like you're stuck on a hamster wheel with no way off.
And this is the key. It's a feedback loop. Think about it. The symptoms themselves, things like having zero energy or acting impulsively, they create real problems in your life. Problems at work, problems in your relationships. And what do those problems cause? Stress, a lot of it. And that stress just pours gasoline on the fire, making the original symptoms flare up even worse.
This diagram here does a fantastic job of showing exactly how that cycle works. You can really jump in at any point, but say it starts with a depressive or manic episode. That changes how you think, how you act, and those changes, they can really mess with your job, your friendships, which of course leads to more stress, maybe you can't sleep, and bam, you're right back where you started, feeding the very symptoms that kick the whole thing off.
So on one side of this coin, you've got depression. And we're not just talking about feeling sad. It's this profound sense of being empty, totally stuck. Every little thing feels like climbing a mountain. That inner critic just gets so loud and relentless. And your self-esteem, well, it pretty much plummets.
Then you flip the coin, and it's a completely different world. Mania. It can start with this incredible euphoric rush of energy. It literally feels like someone just broke the heavy chains of depression. Suddenly, your brain is just on fire with ideas. You feel like you can do anything. You're optimistic. You're creative. You feel totally unstoppable.
So the big question is, how on earth do you break a cycle that powerful? Well, you have to start with the foundation. You need to build a stable base to stand on. And when it comes to bipolar disorder, that foundation, that absolute cornerstone, is medication.
And let's be absolutely crystal clear about this. Medication isn't optional. It's non-negotiable. Pharmacotherapy, we're talking about things like mood stabilizers, is the #1 most essential treatment. It's what tackles the underlying biology of the illness and helps stop those future episodes in their tracks.
But that leads to a really interesting question, doesn't it? If medication is so fundamental, if it's the cornerstone, then why isn't it the whole story? Why do so many people, even people who are really diligent about their meds, still struggle?
Well, the truth is, medication is amazing, but it just can't do it all. It can't fill every single gap. I mean, even if you take your medication perfectly, symptom breakthroughs can still happen. Plus, let's be real, sticking to medication perfectly is tough. Side effects are a pain, or maybe you start feeling good and think, hey, maybe I don't need this anymore. And most importantly, pills don't solve life problems. They don't manage the stress that keeps that cycle spinning.
And this right here is where psychotherapy steps in. Specifically, we're talking about cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT for short. Think of it as a practical, hands-on toolkit designed to fill in all those gaps that medication can't reach.
Now, when you hear therapy, you might just think of talking about your feelings on a couch. But CBT is different. It's not passive. It's a skills-based therapy. It's an active partnership between you and your therapist where you roll up your sleeves and learn actual, practical skills to manage your thoughts, your actions, and your symptoms day in and day out. So the whole therapy is structured around building these 5 core skills. First, you really get to understand your illness. Then, you build an early warning system to see trouble coming. You learn specific skills to control symptoms. You figure out how to stick with your treatment plan. And finally, you become a master of stress management. It's a process that literally takes you from being a passenger to being the pilot of your own life.
Okay, so we've been talking about this toolkit. What's actually inside? What do these skills look like in the real world? Let's pop the hood and take a look.
This is where things get really practical. CBT gives you specific techniques to fight back against those destructive thought patterns. For instance, that voice in your head that's always super critical, you learn a simple technique: catch it, control it, and correct it. Or that all-or-nothing thinking where everything is either perfect or a total disaster, you learn to use what's called a cognitive continuum, basically thinking on a scale of 1 to 100, to see all the shades of gray in between.
And it's not just what's going on in your head. CBT is super practical when it comes to your actions, too.
It gives you real-world strategies for real-world problems. Your sleep schedule is a mess? There are skills for that, called sleep hygiene. Feeling totally isolated? You literally schedule social time, like an appointment. Feeling completely overwhelmed by a project? You learn to break it down into tiny, manageable steps. It's all about taking concrete action.
So you learn all these skills for your thoughts, for your behaviors. Where's this all going? Well, all of it. Every single tool in that toolkit is aimed at one single powerful goal: getting back in control.
And this is so important to understand. The goal here isn't some magical overnight cure. That's not realistic. The goal is to manage the illness. It's about making the episodes happen less often, making them less intense when they do pop up, and, at the end of the day, just having a better quality of life.
And hey, this isn't just a nice idea. The science actually backs this up, big time. Study after study shows that when you add CBT to medication, you see real, measurable results. People have fewer hospitalizations, their social lives improve, and maybe the most important thing of all, they have longer stretches of just feeling well.
Because that's what it all comes down to, right? Every new skill you learn, every negative thought you challenge, it's all designed to tip the scales in your favor. It's about reclaiming your time, reclaiming your life from the illness, so you can spend way more of it feeling well and a whole lot less of it feeling sick.
So we want to leave you with this final thought. So often, we talk about managing a chronic illness like it's all about willpower, about just gritting your teeth and pushing through. But what if we looked at it differently? What if being well wasn't just about trying harder, but about being smarter, about having the right skills for the job? Because that's the real power here. It's not about willpower, it's about skill power.